And I don't have an extremely, great need to find myself a savior. I don't need that. My savior is all around all the time. It's just the world around, the people around it, the stories they tell, and it's the whole thing. That's what keeps me going. If it'd be just dark and empty and there would have been anything left, it would be just a void. Then it'd be pretty miserable. But the constant battle when we're talking about, we're talking about issues of morality. It's very interesting. As what you said about people pretending to be, God's disciples, doing very much the opposite that's taught in New Testament. But also then, there's the vengeful, hateful God of Old Testament. He was a tough guy as well, or was, or is. I don't know. Ville Valo was that's the book, and we had actually there's one old guy called Väinämöinen who played a lyre type of an instrument called kantele, and he sang songs and everybody listened. But he was the old wise man, and there's a lot of stories. There's like Hades, there's like Karen, the similar sort of like the river of death that you pass, and there's a lot of similarities, and my knowledge on early Finnish culture is very limited. It's a tiny country, nomadic country. I'm not sure, it's been mixed with Vikings, because we're not the true Vikings in that sense. Then there's a lot of Russian influence, I guess. But that's basically what that's what Christianity did. They came on over and they built on all of the old holy places. They built their churches upon, So it is a rape of the culture, in a certain sense. And imagine Pan, the great god Pan, that actually being Satan. And Santa Claus, joulupukki in Finnish, which means Christmas goat. That started from a tradition of actually like guys knocking the door like on Halloween, with wearing goat masks and just going in and ravaging the place. Pillaging, raping, and looting kind of a thing. Just being the rock and rollers without the music. And so there's a lot of weird cultural things, especially when it comes to Christian world. They took so many elements out of. But that's the thing for me. I don't fight against it. I find it fascinating how human mind and how the people have worked. It's like a piece of big art. Let's take that bit out of that culture. Let's take that and just create our own little clusterfuck. And just claim it that's the right way to go. You really need a lot of confidence, a lot of guidance, whatever guidance that is, to be able to actually, fairly successfully, to do that if you look at the world nowadays. Well, what's fascinating touring with this particular band and with these particular songs is that it seems that in each and every city where we're playing gig, people do appreciate different songs and different moods and different vibes. A bit more rock and roll energy type of a thing seems to, dig deeper into the collective psyche of a particular group. It's just weird, and that's kind of what makes it really interesting. You never know what's behind the, what's around the corner. So, and that's probably one of the reasons why we still keep on doing it. Because if it would be exactly, it would be just repetition, it'd be super boring for everybody included, especially the audience. So everything's fairly good now. Everything's fairly good. It's the band's tight, but it's such a hard thing to get 5 people who spent most of the year living very close to each other, nearly sharing bunks in a bus, and everybody knows each other, throughout, inside out, and it's tough to get 5 people to work as one, work in unison, when playing a gig, and then getting all the technical aspects right, then hopefully getting a lot of people, good attendance at the gig, and the sound right and everything like that. It's always a bit of a gamble, but that's one of the things that also makes it exciting, because there's always weird stuff that can happen, and usually when the beautiful, the perfect imperfection happens, that's when everything is right. He's great. It's funny, I've known Linda since I've been like 12, 13. And he's a very, you know, he's a very quiet, introverted character. But he's been opening up a lot, and you can actually hear all the emotion and the frustration through his playing. You know, and he's changed as a musician a lot. You know, he used to be more introverted as a guitar player as well, and now he's kind of like liberated himself. I don't know why or how or, you know, what happened, but it's great to see that kind of a flower in bloom. Same with the rest of the guys, you know. Gas is still struggling a bit, but he'll get there. It takes that funny extra step you can't take yourself. It just happens naturally on a good gig, or it's just transformation that happens slowly, that you just immerse yourself, you know, totally lose yourself in the music so much that you do things that you never thought of, and you can't remember what you just did 2 seconds ago. That's a great thing. Yeah. So, you know, if I would be, you know, singing for Aerosmith, I'd be saying that that's very, you could compare that to making love. You know, the best thing is when you just lose yourself. You're like, what just happened? And when that happens, it's a great high. And that's probably one of the reasons that a lot of musos and writers, you know, try to, you know, run after that high with some intoxicants or whatever. But also, you know, I do have a bit of stage fright. Not too bad nowadays, but I used to have a bit of that. And when I started singing, that was the time when I still was a drummer and a bass player. So I was used to carrying something around with me. So that my crutches on stage were, you know, having a cigarette and having a bottle of red wine and a beer or something like that, because I felt naked without. So now still the cigarettes, we'll see when I cut down smoke and leave that, and what'll happen then. But no, it's just it's a collective push musically towards something. I don't know where it is, and it's just nice to be where we are musically at this particular moment. You know, it's just, you never know what to expect. There's also a tradition of people like, let's say, Jim Morrison. He didn't do a lot on stage. Everybody just remembers him doing the shamanistic dances or whatever. He did them like twice. Yeah. He was just clinging onto the mic and trying to get the story through. Yeah. So there's a different tradition in that sense. But Nick Cave, he's a great performer though. But I guess that when I was a bit younger, you thought that you have to do something. You have to learn the ropes or do the moves or do something, you know, to be able to be considered as a great performer or whatever. I guess that the most challenging thing is to lose yourself so completely in the music that you rather tell the story through the music than doing something pre-learned, doing like a Justin Timberlake routine. That's a different cup of tea. It's a different way of entertaining. Yeah. But if we would be able to at least get a, you know, tiny little percent of the people sucked into the mood of the music and really like overwhelm them with the music, that's the best thing, I guess. Especially nowadays, because there's always somebody who looks prettier or cooler, who's got a leaner body, who can do cool, you know, backflips or whatever like that on stage. We're not Jim Rose Circus. You know, they do their stuff extremely well. But what we're trying to do is to, you know, musically create that, you know, the sonic aura of something hopefully different that hasn't been done before. And at times it, you know, and I like it when stuff starts happening uncontrollably and from and because of an unconscious source or subconscious source. You know, it's I guess that's what you call, that's how it started, the term being a natural. Things happen naturally, just flow out of you, and you can see the difference compared to artists or performers who rehearse their craft. And you can do both, obviously, but I'm tend to steer away from theatrics. You know, if it does happen, you know, I don't know. It's something I don't think about too much of it, because I guess that, you know, singing itself is fairly demanding in this band, and getting everything right. And when I'm on stage, I don't think about myself. I think of the band and the sound of the band. That's also one of the reasons why I sing a lot of the times with my eyes closed, so I don't have any distractions of, let's say, pretty ladies or people waving at me or whatever. It's beautiful and it's nice to, but at times it takes you away from the mood of the song and the sentiment. that's there to be brought forth. So I'm listening to everybody on the stage all the time, you know. So I'm like listening to an album I'm not a part of. I'm listening, you know, I'm just a puppet. I don't know, and the puppeteer is the whole collective, you know, consciousness of the band him, you know. So it's not that self-centered anymore. It was more when I was wasted on stage. It's funny that a lot of people who've never been to our gigs and maybe, you know, just seen a clip of a video or believe the rumors that were really satanic and driving the kids nuts, you know, they're the ones losing the whole thing. That, you know, at least when I'm looking at the audience from the stage, you know, a lot of them people are smiling. They're singing along, and it's a cathartic experience for hopefully everybody. You're going through universal pain together, you know.
Yeah.
The pain of losing people around you, and the pain of growing up, and the pain of, as you grow up, learning that you actually don't know anything. And, you know, just, you know, the world becomes day by day a bit more complicated place. And it's basically good to know that you're not alone. And it was extremely interesting for me. I actually met somebody yesterday that she'd been talking to a couple of fans. She was a fan who did an interview, and some people said that, you know, listening to the music of him makes me not feel alone, makes me help me through, you know, sleepless nights, you know, like thoughts of suicide, you know, what Nietzsche once said. But the funny thing about that is that that's exactly what music does to me. That's why I write it. I'm not alone when I write music, and it makes me help. You know, it makes me get through many a sleepless nights, and to be able to confront the negativity in the world in general with a smile on my face, more or less. It's tough and it's hard and it's hard for everybody, but it's crazy how, you know, a person lives a zillion miles away in a place called Helsinki, sits on his bed, feels something and picks up a guitar and puts that feeling, you know, into the music, couple of words, couple of chords, and through a long process gets that thing recorded, and all of a sudden the music spreads all around, and what happens is that it does exactly the same what it did for the perpetrator, so to speak. It's a weird cycle that it does. It seems to do for a lot of people, and but also, you know, music is, you know, everybody's got their sonic diary, and everybody listens to different bands for different reasons, and everybody doesn't listen to certain songs because they recreate the smell, the sense, the whole atmosphere of a situation of the past. You know, when I listened to Madonna's Live to Tell, I remembered my, you know, first disco, you know, slow dances with a lady I was, you know, into when I was like 12 or whatever, and those are great memories. So that's also one reason why I write music, but also that's the negative thing for me, because I can't feel that. You know, I just feel the moment, the sentiment where I am at the moment where I'm writing it down, and at times it's painful, and at times it's rejuvenating. Hopefully both at the same time.